Do you want me to put another planner in?
Just email it to me directly. Hello everybody, welcome to Planet SkyFF, the world where everything revolves around £50,000. My name's Such.
My microphone's shaking. My name's James.
That, James, is how you do the intro.
Oh. Yeah.
I hear everything. Yes, we are back with Sky Fantasy Football. Obviously, you had a very able newbie replacement in Clayton last week during the international break. But we are days away from football kicking off again. So we're into the needs of transaction.
England turned up and played football last night, I thought. Not to everyone's liking, but a win on old enemy soil. Yeah, I'll take that.
I'm so non-excited by international football outside of tournaments, and I think a lot of people probably are.
Most of us, particularly us, I think, who are in the fantasy football community, yes, would quite happily skip international breaks. But hey, only another 4 weekends to go, and we can have some more of it again.
Is it another international break in 4 weeks?
Yeah.
Great.
4 match weeks, then there's another one, mate.
Perfect. So, Sky Fantasy, we usually covered off what happened up till game week 4 with Clayton last week.
Yeah, tell us where you're at then.
I'm at 10k, bang on the nose,
Nice.
as it stands at the moment.
Transfer shoes?
I have used 5 now.
Okay,
so
cool.
I'm on 45. I made one move last week, which was getting rid of Nakamba, as everybody did.
Yeah.
And I bought Bissouma. What am I talking about? Bissouma. I bought Mbomo on the Saturday.
Oh, that late goal was a touch.
Oh, tell me about it. Don't get me wrong. He had chances in that game where he could have all. And I bought Mbomo for a 5-week period, including a captaincy coming up soon. So it was never going to be a short-term play anyway. But when you make a transfer and they return in the first game, you kind of feel, okay, well, he's half paid back his transfer, so we're good with that. So yeah, fairly happy overall, and I think I've been manoeuvring towards a team that I'm quite happy with and settled with, and there aren't as many players now within my team that are what I would call problems that I need to fix.
That's a good position to be in.
Yeah, and I've got a couple of earmarked transfers. So I've still got Alisson in goal. He'll tick along nicely. There's no problems there. Dunk, Saliba, Ruben Diaz. City are still only 2 games in, or 3 games into 2 games into a good 5-game run. So Colwill is there. He
Might be a problem.
Isn't a problem yet, but also his value doesn't make it like one that I'm overly worried about. My midfield I'm happy with now. Rodri, Bissouma and Mbomo. They'll stick for a while. Those are kind of like your steady eddies, aren't they, really? Erling Haaland up top. Alvarez up top. And I've got Jackson still sitting there as well, who I'd bought a couple of weeks ago for the captaincies. And I thought he would give me better captaincy coverage than Colwill.
That's your one Chelsea. Oh, no, sorry, Cole, you got 2.
Yeah,
okay.
but I went, and Jackson was there. So I'd already earmarked Jackson to Awoniyi as my way into Nottingham Forest to give me the captaincy, a better captaincy for their single game days, and then daisy chain that on. So that's the only real move that I've kind of got set in my head right now, is that Jackson to Awoniyi to give me that captaincy coverage, and then should I need to, I'll do something with Colwill. But I've also got 3.7 in the bank, and I'm conscious that I want a second Liverpool asset. So I'm going to keep an eye on that.
I was going to say, actually, who was your intended captain on the 24th of September? Which is not this Sunday, but the following Sunday. So you got Arsenal against Tottenham, Liverpool against West Ham, Newcastle go to Sheffield United, Chelsea host Aston Villa, Brighton host Bournemouth. So there's choices there. What would you captain at the moment?
Lewis Dunk.
Home to Bournemouth.
Yes.
Yep. Fine with that.
It would be safe. I could get hit if one of the others goes off big, but it would be safe. Like, I feel like a 5-pointer is there, and if he ends up with a clean sheet, I'll take that all day long. So at the moment, I would go safe with Lewis Dunk. I don't like the idea of Saliba at Tottenham. Well, he's home, but against Tottenham, I should say. And I don't mind Alisson against West Ham as well. But as you've seen, West Ham has scored in every game so far. And the set piece threat...
It's only 4 games, Suj.
Yeah, but considering last season, we were struggling to hit a barn door. And at set pieces, we're going to be a threat. And Liverpool defensively at the back on set pieces, I reckon we can cause them some trouble. So I think Do I think we'll win that game? Probably not. But do I think we'll score? Yes. Jared Bowen going up for his job interview. So, I think we'll do all right. So I don't really want to captain either of those two guys. I'd go Lewis Dunk with Bournemouth, I think.
Okay. For the record, it would be Salah for me.
Yeah, and if I own Salah, then I would recommend that as well. But I'm not sure I'm going to be able to get there.
For the record, for me, I kind of spoke about my team last week, so I'm not going to go in much detail, but it's probably more to highlight the differences maybe that we've got at the moment. So your keeper is...
Alisson.
I've got Ederson.
You've obviously steamed in to City.
Yes.
I've only got... you've got 2 extra. You've got Ederson and Gvardiol.
Yeah. So you've got
Diaz,
4.
Rodri, Alvarez, Haaland.
Yeah. And I think you've done pretty well there, because the 2 that would be on the quickest chopping block for me would be Gvardiol, maybe Ederson. Gvardiol's my big problem, right? He might even have an injury, possibly. Although there was some Nathan Ake speculation. Then he played for the Netherlands against Ireland. So keep an eye out on potential Gvardiol news. My take on it at the moment is he's probably going to be the one, I think, that goes. But if I was in a position where, before, say, Forest played Burnley on Monday, I think, well, Gvardiol's going to play against Forest or Wolves, I've been Colwell instead. And that was what I'd always been lining up, was Colwell to Awoniyi on Monday. And we'll come back to the fact, obviously, the outlook for Monday night has changed a little bit in a second. So I've got, Thiago Silva for your Nicholas Jackson.
Yep.
I've got Mo Salah for your Saliba?
Saliba, yeah.
Is that all we've got different?
You've got Rodri, Bissouma. Yeah, that's it.
So we've got 3 different.
Mm-hmm.
So, or 4 different. So it's Ederson, Silva, Gvardiol and Salah.
Versus Alisson, Saliba, Jackson and Mbeumo.
Mbeumo, of course, yeah.
Yep.
Which, owning Mbeumo, Serge, might make you lean towards a Burnley player on Monday night, I might suggest, maybe. Rather than Awoniyi. This could potentially save you a transfer down the line. Because Captain Mbeumo against Forest, I presume that's what you'd have done anyway on October the 1st.
That was why I got Mbeumo in early enough to know that he had that Everton at home, Forest away as a captaincy, and obviously the fixture that just went where he scored, made it worth it for those 4 fixtures, which is a 5 for. Yeah. And I was binning Nakamba, so it could have been a 1-for-1. I would have still.
Do you not wish you'd kept Marvellous for his now new single game day on Tuesday, the 3rd of October against Burnley?
No, because like you told me, I'm going to buy a Burnley player on Monday, so it's going to solve my problem for me. I have no idea, James. I have no idea.
If I was in your position, that's what I'd be doing. I'd be buying a Burnley defender, which would sound ridiculous, right? I think they might have even considered the most goals in the league so far.
No.
But there's stuff in what we've seen so far that I think suggests that there's something in this. So there's
for passing tiers specifically.
Yeah, and maybe in Jordan Bayer's case, tackles as well.
Okay.
Maybe.
Yep.
So Luton-Burnley has been arranged for Tuesday, the 3rd of October. If you're on Marvellous Nakamba and you're still sitting there, like Clayton was in that position, to be honest with you, that's probably now sit there a little bit more and take in probably the Tottenham game on Saturday the 7th, and then you've got your choice of 8 teams that following day, or it might be you want to chain it into work a system where you go to an Aston Villa player on Sunday the 22nd. If you've got it, I'd probably keep it, because I was at pains to stress last week that I just thought Nakamba owners had been a little bit unlucky. Does he look like he's going to be a monster per se?
Watch him get 3 tackles against Fulham, 3 tackles against Wolves,
3 against Everton.
What's a guy?
And 3 and the yellow card when it matters most against Burnley. Yeah, probably.
Exactly.
But that, if you've got cover for that, you'd probably do it. I mean, from a perspective of Luton, if you didn't own and you want a Luton player for Tuesday the 3rd, my honest take, if you get yourself in that situation, would be buy Carlton Morris on that night and take the Burnley, Tottenham and Nottingham Forest games and then sell it straight on to probably, say, Ollie Watkins or something like that straight after Luton play Forest. Burnley's more interesting now from this point if you had no Luton-Burnley coverage. And, of course, it is a typical fixture where, of course, you can skip it. Absolutely, you could. You could definitely sit there right now and go, I'm skipping Forest-Burnley, I'm skipping Luton-Burnley. Where it's interesting, though, and where I do think people should invest is, essentially, if you're not like you and has an Mbumo, or some of you might have a Flecken, for example, then there are 2 captaincies sitting right in front of you across the next 3 match weeks, if you will. So there are effective 5v1s or 5v2s if you're going to captain this player twice. Forest obviously play Burnley on Monday night, and then they obviously have the game against Nottingham Forest on October the 1st. Which I found out through Ian Parrin had said the reason there's only a 2:00 game that day rather than a 4:30 as well is because of Ryder Cup weekend.
Okay.
That's the reason why, and obviously Sky want the coverage to go straight to the Ryder Cup. That's the thinking, apparently, and that makes sense, actually. Burnley, of course, obviously play Forest this Monday night, and then obviously fast forward 15 days, have the rearranged trip to Luton. Now, with Burnley as well, what's really interesting about this, I think, is the real longer-term prospects of this. I think if you're going for a Burnley player, you should consider this potentially as a long-term prospect, and that might sound absolutely nuts considering what I've said and the goals they've been shipping. Let's also remember we played 3 of the best attacking teams in the league so far. And there's enough for us to suggest, as I said, that there might be something here. So I'm going to take you through the data for the 4 defenders of interest so far. So against Man City in the first game, they basically played a 5-2-3. So Vitinho played as well. O'Shea was most for passes, 42. And Beyer hit 4 tackles, tier 1 tackles, went off with 20 minutes to go, basically. Would he have got near passing tier? No, absolutely not. Would we accept it against Manchester City? No, absolutely not. Against Aston Villa, Delcroix, who played left back, 82 passes. Connor Roberts played right back, 70 passes. Alderkill, centre back, 69 passes. Dara O'Shea, 101 passes.
That's a lot.
Against Aston Villa. Okay. Then in the Tottenham...
Who beat them handsomely.
Then in the Tottenham game, Alderkill was really low on passes, played right back. But the other 3, Roberts and Beyer, who again went off with 20 minutes to go, and O'Shea, 47, 46 and 49 respectively. And we know Tottenham are very much moving towards being a more possession-dominating team, and yes, a very good pressing team. And obviously Beyer had these 10 tackles. So Bayer's got, on average, 14 tackles across 2 games so far, 7 per game. Now, the caveat to that is, again, played 2 of the best defensive teams in the league, Man City and Tottenham. Actually, a little bit per Nakamba. Fixture list doesn't matter for people picking up tackles. Almost the more difficult games may be better. I think the reason I like Beyer as the best shout, as 6.6, is there's a couple of reasons. I think Roberts could be quite interesting. If you look back at the data in the Championship last year, Roberts for passes comes out best in terms of average per game. And that's because quite a lot he was inverting from fullback positions. The problem they've got at the moment is he's kind of basically the only fullback in the squad. Delcroix has come in and played left back. Against Tottenham, he came on as left-sided centre back. He himself actually picked up 26 passes in the second half. So again, it's kind of ranking towards the others. Like if you're playing in that defensive line, it's similar numbers to what the others were producing. So Roberts will absolutely play. There's the good news. But we don't know if he's going to play right back, left back. We don't know how much he's going to invert or not. If he inverts into midfield and goes and joins Josh Cullen, he'll hit passing tiers quite a bit. I think Beyer is the most assured. I was obviously at Turf Moor for the Tottenham game, and I think O'Shea had quite a shaky afternoon. And it's a step up from what he's been doing at West Brom into this, whereas Burnley invested more heavily in Beyer. They had him on loan last year. They knew exactly what they were getting when they bought the footballer. So I'd be really surprised if Beyer doesn't stay as one of the 2 centre-backs. We may see back 3 on occasion. If we do, he's even more likely to play. He's 6'6". Roberts is 7'2". O'Shea is 6'7". And the reason I think if you go for one of these, it should become long-term, is looking further ahead. Because when you look at the immediate and you go, we spoke about this previously and said, well, if you want Burnley, it's probably Forest away, Manchester United at home, and then sell. This time, though, you'd be carrying on longer, right? You go Newcastle away, then you've got the single game day against Luton. Then there's Chelsea, and you could arguably say sell again. But once you've got to that Chelsea game, you've got the rough fixtures out of the way. What follows afterwards are a set of fixtures where passing tiers, I would suggest, are likely. Brentford, Bournemouth, Crystal Palace, Arsenal obviously not, West Ham, Sheffield United, Wolves. Then Brighton would be an obviously not, but then Everton, and then Fulham is a maybe as well. When I look at those fixtures and what I've seen from Burnley so far, I think there's passing tiers in around about half those games. Now, the caveat is, of course, is they're conceding too many goals. But if that stops, and you've got an enabler sitting like a 6.6 there, well, we kind of had real focus on the Cambers and stuff like that. If it allows you that one extra attacking player, for example, be it a Bukayo Saka, Marcus Rashford, whatever you fancy in coming weeks, depending on your entry points, I think this should be considered. Also, looking further ahead, following some of the more recent rearrangements, and I'll speak about this more in November. There's not much point speaking about this now, but I think Wolves against Burnley on Tuesday, December the 5th will be a single game day. And as it's a Tuesday in a set of midweek fixtures, there won't be an entry point necessarily. That's dependent on how the November fixtures fall. So if Burnley always had a Saturday in December, you might struggle to find an entry point, therefore. Go on.
Thank you.
But no, thank you.
No. Thank you. Full stop. So one of the issues I had was that I'm in a 4-3-3. So for me to get Awoniyi, which was the original plan, I had to sell Jackson. I couldn't go from Colwill to Jackson. I've already got 3 attackers.
Of course, obviously, yes. Sorry.
Excuse me. So Awoniyi was the guy I wanted. If I decided to go with a Beyer or whoever from Burnley, money is no object here. I can go Colwill to Beyer, keep Jackson. Jackson then gives me captaincy coverage for the Fulham game away for Chelsea. And I don't have to get rid of Jackson immediately. So that solves problem number 1. What it also does for me is after Man City have played Forest at home, I have more than enough money to sell Alvarez or Diaz. They're the 2 City players that I would potentially sell to get Salah. And formation-wise, I can do that because I'm in a 4-3-3. So I can go to a 3-4-3 or a 3-4-3, yeah, or a
3-5-2.
3-5-2, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I can get Salah and have him for captaincy. You know, I'm losing a Man City player, but not my Rodri or my Haaland. And then I can come off Jackson whenever I feel like. But should I not want to, after Fulham, he's got Burnley on a Saturday, and I can move to someone on a Sunday should I want to. So, and Salah gives me captaincy coverage for the West Ham game, but I think that Everton, Nottingham Forest, Luton run a bit further down, I would want him for that as well. My concern was how am I going to get Salah? Because none of my players have an exit point other than the City boys. I'm going to have to sacrifice one of the City boys, to be honest with you. I can't, as much as you want Man City all the time, following the Wolves game, it's Arsenal, Brighton, Man United. That's a tougher run of fixtures on paper. I don't know what is tough for Man City these days. So I quite like that. And the main reason I like what you've suggested is because it helps my formation. And I do think people need to be aware of that.
Yeah, the other real problem of thinking just for Salah, just as a side note, there are hop-on, hop-offs constantly where you've got a couple of weeks here where after this Wolves game, they play then Sunday, Saturday, then Sunday, Saturday.
Yeah.
So there are, for example, if you came off after Salah played Tottenham and you wanted to skip the Brighton Everton games, then Nottingham Forest game, we know because of Liverpool's European involvement won't be till the Sunday, that there's a case there to say, right, well, there's 4v2s on others, for example. So delaying the entry point might be worthwhile. However, I also see that I think you're definitely going to want him, certainly by at least that Nottingham Forest point on Sunday, October the 29th. You look at the Forest game, Luton away afterwards. You know, if he's not on the same day as Haaland, then Haaland will definitely be the Saturday. So there's a fair chance with what's happening with Liverpool this year that it'll be the Sunday or the Monday. Correct. Possibly. You're going to want some of that. And of course, that would be another entry point and no major issue. Brentford at home afterwards is a Sunday. Fulham at home a couple of afterwards is going to be a Sunday, for example. I suspect Wednesday the 6th is probably when they'll play Sheffield United because I'm sure Sky and TNT are going to stitch up Amazon for those midweek fixtures. That alludes back to my Wolves-Burnley point. And again, I'll talk about that more once we've got the November fixtures and we can start predicting what December might look like. So that you need a consciousness of an entry point. And if you want to go in for the Everton fixture, which is Saturday the 21st, and I think that is one of the rare days where you could make a case, Salah versus Everton, Haaland versus Brighton. There was a debate to be had. And of course you can still captain Haaland, and that might be the safer play. But if you want Salah for that Everton fixture, going in the Sunday before logically feels right, but your entries to that might be quite difficult, and that's because a lot of the other bigger clubs, the likes of Arsenal, City, etc., also play on the Sunday. So unless you're selling something like maybe a Rashford to go to it, it's probably not going to work unless you're really planning to transfer out. And with Rashford having Sheffield United the following weekend, is that the sort of move you necessarily want to make? Similarly, with Tottenham, you go, oh, I could go Tottenham to Salah, but then, you need to get something else back to Tottenham for then those 2 single game days against Fulham and Crystal Palace on the Monday and the Friday afterwards. So the entry point might feel easier this Sunday if you're reworking a network that includes going the likes of Awoniyi, and Jordan Beyer is the preference for me, I think, for Burnley.
Yeah.
Because there's the tackle potential on top. I think he's the most lots of the defenders.
Okay.
Of the centre-backs, anyway.
Where's your head at in terms of both of us don't have any Arsenal attacking, we've come off, and we don't have any Manchester United attacking now. Arsenal, you could say, well, with Tottenham, Man City, Chelsea as 3 of the next 5, stomach it, and I've got defensive coverage. But United have Burnley, Palace, Brentford, Sheffield United, and then Fulham game after, but there's no entry point for them.
Correct. So
I feel like United for me is a
contingency.
Yeah, if I get an injury, I can just move to it because, again, money, no object. Arsenal, I'm just going to wait until Sheffield United now, I think, for the attacker. Contingency, I can still do.
The only one that would really stand out for United from a captaincy perspective is Saturday, 7th of October, when they host Brentford. And purely because on every other of the four Saturdays, Haaland plays.
Right.
So from a captaincy perspective, it's a good run of fixtures, but it's not required. I would also assume, because Chelsea play Fulham on Monday the 2nd, even if people don't have Chelsea, they'll go, right, well, I'll get Fulham, and then I've got the captaincy against Burnley. Anyone who's got Tottenham extra ahead of the 2 single game days, Tottenham go to Luton that day, so Manchester United wouldn't be best. If Son's playing through the middle or James Maddison's probably a better call. I'm looking at that Saturday now and going, well, if I captain Basuma, I know he's definitely in passing tier in that, for example. Like, how bad is it?
With that Tottenham, I've got Basuma, many will have now. I'm waiting until the Fulham game now for the second additional.
Same.
I don't see any reason to shoot early. No.
Same. But, again, contingency. Let's say, because that on between 7 and 8 is obviously Champions League fixtures the midweek before before Tottenham play Luton. If I got an injury in that midweek, I'm not buying Marcus Rashford.
No.
I'd be going to Son and Maddison and making that decision there and then. I think, right, it's not the contingency. Okay, now that's allowed me to go into a Tottenham player for a Luton. If you do want a Tottenham player to captain against Luton, you want your likes of Maddison or Son, the entry point realistically is either now if you've got an injury or Arsenal away next Sunday, and that doesn't feel right.
Yeah, I'm not going to... Arsenal away, Liverpool at home. And again, it's like, who are you coming off? Because it's not just about where are you going to, what are you losing in between. That's why I think for me, Fulham in a few weeks, on a single game...
Way more important that I get the decision right for Fulham and Crystal Palace, those 2 games on the 23rd and 27th. You'd feel
sick if you bought Son and he got injured against Liverpool. And
to be honest, it's the same thing, to be totally honest. I will want to get to that point and I will want to go one of the attacking players. And the honest truth is, Son could play every game through the middle of the next 4. And if I get to White Hart Lane that night and Richarlison's playing through the middle, I'll buy Maddison.
Yeah, exactly. You're right. Yeah, can't fault your
that's how I would feel.
Yeah, indeed.
Right, but... Interesting, just to bring this up, so you'd mentioned about moving, say, Colwill to Burnley. What's interesting about that is, well, arguably you should wait till after Chelsea play Fulham. But then that doesn't...
But they don't have the single game day.
But then that doesn't give you the captaincy for Forest Burnley unless you're still going to go Awoniyi. So you now saying you won't?
No, I won't do Awoniyi then, because then it gives me Jackson as captaincy for the Fulham game. Because if I was to sell Jackson to Awoniyi, I've got Awoniyi for 2 games, one of which I wouldn't captain him in anyway because I've got Mbomo. And then for the Fulham away game, I've got the choice of Colwill as captaincy, and that's it. I'd rather have the choice of Jackson as captaincy for that game. So the fact that I'd only use Awoniyi for one of the games as captaincy means I'd rather go Beyer, use him for captaincy, and I've got 2 captaincies out of him. And the formation structure-wise, it helps me better to get Salah. So yeah, Awoniyi would then be binned for me.
So there's a couple of things I need to consider, and again,
watch him score a hat-trick now.
Awoniyi.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's worth saying for Monday night, despite what I've said about Burnley in the past and Tears, and I really think they will hit it, especially Monday night away to Forest. Awoniyi is the best captaincy on Monday.
Yeah, I agree.
Because of what he's shown, his form, Burnley's ability to concede goals at the moment shouldn't be underestimated, despite the stuff I've said. Like, if I went and bought Awoniyi and O'Shea, not O'Shea, Beyer on Monday, which isn't impossible, I could still captain Awoniyi.
Yep.
And I'd be looking at thinking, well, if I get the passing tier off Beyer, that's a great little bonus to go with it. But what I'm thinking with that is, and this is relevant, is knock-ons here. So let's assume Gvardiol doesn't play for City, right? I'll go him to Awoniyi. I've obviously got money in the bank. If I become comfortable with Gvardiol, the plan all along was Colwell to Awoniyi and then captain and go in. And for me, I'd probably be looking to chain it where I got into Ollie Watkins as an example. Sunday the 22nd when Villa have that single game day against West Ham. But obviously, if I just go Awoniyi, it's almost like, well, why would I go Beyer now as well? Surely I'll wait for the single game day. Like I said, keep Colwell if I was to sell Gvardiol and give me that extra captaincy cover Monday the 2nd. How sick would I be if I went Colwell to Beyer now and then in between then and Chelsea playing Fulham, Thiago Silva gets an injury and Colwell's still sitting in the team? That'd be sick, wouldn't I? Gutted. Because then I've got to go and buy another Chelsea player.
Yep.
And I've got rid of 2. So if I go with the Awoniyi route, I think I come back and take a bit more information for Burnley. But the closer it gets, the more I'm thinking about not going Awoniyi, going the Burnley player, and then my coverage for Nottingham Forest versus Brentford could be Edison to Flecken.
Okay.
And do it that way. Not that I'm massively in love with Brentford's fixtures from, I think once he goes in, I'm probably looking at him going, I'd kind of like you to be my keeper till overhaul. So I've got to be sure about that choice. So the honest answer is I'm not too sure what I'm going to do yet, but I think the right solution will be for me one transfer. It's just a case of which route I take. The other thing, of course, if I leave the Forest-Brentford route open, it doesn't have to be Edison to Flecken, right? It could be Alvarez to Mbumo, for example. There's different little routes I can take with that, and I might deem that that's the right decision for me in a couple of weeks' time. I think I'm going to buy Awoniyi. I think it's the most likely, but I by no means haven't decided yet.
If I was able to go from Lewis Dunk to Awoniyi, I would do it. Because then I've got 2 Awoniyi captaincy potential, well, 1 captaincy at least, but the run of including Burnley and Brentford and Luton, whereas Brighton have Villa, Liverpool, City in that time as well, is much more appealing, and I can go back to Lewis Dunk against Fulham. But formation-wise, I can't do it.
Yeah, and just to clarify that, obviously there's a 4-game period for Dunk, which is Bournemouth, Villa, Liverpool, Manchester City, and there's other teams who've got sort of 6 games over that period, and there'll be a couple now. I've obviously got even more in the case of, say, Burnley. I think we'll have 7 over that period. Throw in 2 captaincies on top of that, and yeah, you can make the course to dip out a Lewis Dunk. If I was sitting there with no problems right now, say Gvardiol and Colwell I wasn't thinking, oh, I'll maybe want to move them, then I would consider that. If you're really strong with your team, I'd consider that. For me, it's a no-go because I know it's another transfer. Because there's no way I'm looking at that period of Fulham, Everton, Sheffield United, Nottingham Forest, and no way I'm not having Lewis Dunk for that period if he's fit. So yeah. I know he'd be going to come back. Are there gains in terms of doing it over kind of a month-long period? Yeah, you could go without Dunk over this period. In your case, Serge, if you could go there, you just need to factor again and second-guess yourself, who am I captain Sunday, 24th September?
No, but that allows me
Salah. Get that.
Yeah. Like, the only reason Dunk would only be going if I knew I was buying Salah.
Yes.
So, yeah, there's a lot of planning in the next few weeks. It's really actually a good period up until the next.
And do you know what's really interesting about this particular weekend? I think this is a really good tip, I think, for new players this weekend, more than some of the weekends that are coming up. Right now, there really should be only 4 teams at the most on your mind. And those are Forest and Burnley, Arsenal and Chelsea. The only ones you'd be looking at buying this week. Most of the other good teams play Saturday. Let's be honest, let's rule Everton and Bournemouth out in terms of investment on the Sunday at the moment. So your interest for new investment right now would be Chelsea, although arguably even in their case, you'd probably now wait till the Fulham game. So it's Forest-Burnley Monday night, and do you want to add any Arsenal? And add Arsenal from a captaincy perspective this coming Sunday. And I do think Arsenal is the better choice than Chelsea, but I haven't got any at the moment, and I don't think I'm going there, Suj. I think I'll probably be Thiago Silva Sunday captaincy. Is the plan.
Cool. And another tip as well, if I may, is like I've now looking at, okay, I'm going to buy this player and that player and this player and that player. What if they don't play? Like whenever you put your transfer plan down, even like looking at Salah on the 24th, right, and I'm looking to get him in, what the hell would I do if he wasn't there? Because I've now banked on him as captaincy. Yeah. Let's go Nunez or Diaz or whatever. Or it might even be
Nunez might have an injury issue potentially. Yeah. He was taken off Uruguay at half-time last night.
I think it's always knowing what is plan B. Especially when you're daisy chaining 2 or 3 moves, it's even more important than when you've just got one transfer, because then it's quite often an A and B decision rather than an A, B, C, D decision. So get contingency planning, and then I think that's what I need to do.
You can also do that and have an open mind. So let's say I've spoken about kind of this Forest route then means to buying Burnley later, or this Burnley route that leads to me buying Brentford later, as an example.
Are you coming on the Mbomo train, yeah?
I mentioned about Flecken. If who Tom Med mentions a lot on tomorrow's Clash of Correspondents, he also mentions Mbomo quite a lot, by the way. But if I got the team, say I decided Awoniyi, if the team comes out Monday night and Awoniyi's not in it, I'm just going the alternative route, and my backup contingency there is not to panic and buy another Nottingham Forest player. Is to go the Burnley route.
Yeah. Agreed.
And if Beyer wasn't in it and Awoniyi wasn't in it, then I'd probably punt Dara O'Shea, to tell you the truth at the moment. I think the keepers, by the way, and I know that's one when we kind of, particularly when it seems like we have Monday night games come round, it's like, can I chain this goalkeeper for a bit? Both of those goalkeepers, in my opinion, are under threat. So Vlachodimos has joined Nottingham Forest from Benfica. He'll put a bit of pressure on Matt Turner. I'm pretty sure Turner will play Monday night, but be aware of that. Vlachodimos was playing Champions League football last year for a very good Benfica. He doesn't think he's rocking up as the number 2. He's gone there to challenge. And we're a bit concerned about Trafford's performances for Burnley at the moment. And Muric didn't do a lot wrong last year. I would presume Trafford would stay in, but not with enough confidence to make me think, I could take that route. I wouldn't want to. So I think both goalkeepers Monday night are avoidable. That would also be the case for Arsenal at the moment as well. Like, don't go around Ramsdale.
Understood.
Who are you captaining this week? So
Saturday? Yeah, let's cover off captaincy before we get into some of the questions on X. Haaland. I am not massively hopeful for Haaland, just because we have seen that West Ham's defensive formation, which is 5 and 5. There's no space in behind. Like, there will be no space in behind for him.
That stopped him scoring 3 goals against you last year.
No, it won't. And this is the point, right? He scored 2 at home. At our place, it was 2 on the opening day of the season.
I'm also thinking the 2 goals that he scored in open play were both clear one-on-ones, by the way.
Well, the first in open play, one of the goals would have been at their place, right?
Yeah.
So the first was a penalty that he won by bursting through in the box. So he didn't have space to go in behind.
So actually, all 3 of his goals were runs in behind. Yeah, interesting.
With no space. And then the second one, obviously, was in the second half where there was 2 football fields worth of space for him. But the ownership being at 90%, and 8 in the top 1,000 and 82%. I can't not do it, but I'm also I don't think he's going to be doing what he did against Fulham, if I'm honest with you. But it'll be Haaland for me.
The reality is you don't need to take it on. I'll be on Haaland. If I was sitting there with Heung-min Son, it would be a massive temptation. I cannot promise you that it will start through the middle. I genuinely can't. I'd put it about an 80% probability. If I felt that as 100%, I'd go Sonny captain. That fixture is good enough where you can have a real fight with it, I think, this week.
Agree.
I don't have Sonny, and I don't have James Maddison either. I do have Mo Salah, and I obviously do see the Liverpool team, but I've zero reason to think Haaland won't play at West Ham. So it will still be Haaland for me. But I do think Sonny, if you have, I'm going to guess most people don't. But even more so, I mean, the thing is as well, if, say, for whatever reason you picked up an injury and you've invested in him now for Saturday, huge differential. You don't need to captain him to get a nice little rise if he does really well and stuff. Like if he gets a return, you'll do well in any case. Sunday, I'm going to be Silva. I think best call is probably Saka, then Odegaard, then Saliba. That sort of order.
Saliba versus Jackson, what would you do? Because that's the boat I'm in. I think Saliba.
Yeah, I'm in agreement. Yeah,
I think Saliba. Just the passes will be there, touch wood, and the clean sheet potential is there. Everton haven't been scoring a lot of goals, so I'd go Saliba because Jackson's ownership being so low, if he does well, he'll give me a rank rise anyway.
I don't think there's enough there for me to feel the need to make the transfer. So a perfect example, let's say I decide, right, I'm going to go Awoniyi and I become really concerned about Colwell. I could go, obviously, Colwell to Awoniyi and I could go Gvardiol to Saliba on Sunday. I don't have enough interest in doing that move with the 4 fixtures Arsenal have afterwards because I think there's every chance Parson Tiers might not be there in any of them. And I'd rather, what I'm planning to do with Arsenal is make sure I'm back in there for Saturday the 28th of October, where they're clear best captaincy at home to Sheffield United. And that's easily gettable via whichever premium Tottenham attacker I go to. So it will become off Maddison or Son into Saka or Saliba at that point. That's my idea.
And Monday will be a case of whatever you got, really, for a lot of people. Obviously, the Forest attacking and Awoniyi is the key.
I think Awoniyi is the best call.
Yeah. But depending on your team, depends where you may end up. Interesting few days ahead. Let's have a look at what the people want to know on the internet chat.
Go on then.
Skyflyer, how do you delete your team? You don't this early.
Can you?
Don't this. I have no idea, mate.
You'd probably have to close your account, wouldn't you? Probably.
Yeah.
I'd guess. I don't know if you can.
They probably want credit card details for you to be able to do that, mate.
I mean, why would you delete it anyway?
Yeah, it's early. Come on, you can do it. You can get back into it. Give yourself a new target, right? Whether it's top 1,000 or 5,000 or whatever. Just give up on the 50 grand anyway. Martin says, do you like the look of any Newcastle assets for their upcoming good fixtures? Which they do have. There's just no demand for captaincy and no real entry exit. There is an entry, isn't there, when they play? Is it Sheffield United on the Sunday? But
yeah, I think Newcastle. This time next week, we'll have the information for the Brentford game and their first Champions League game against AC Milan, which is next Tuesday. So we'll be in a little bit of a better position, but I'd have to be totally honest at the moment. My take would be that no, I'm going to leave it.
Alex says, is owning a Chelsea player over the next few weeks essential?
No.
Other than the fact that they got a single game day. So if you own a Fulham player...
Let's do it a different way. Let's say Harry Wilson turns it up in the next couple of weeks. And
Never heard of him.
And you get to that Monday night and you go, well, Chelsea got a problem on their left-hand side. I'm going to go Harry Wilson. I'm going to captain him against Chelsea. And then after that, Fulham have got Sheffield United at home as well. And then you just sell him on something else.
Yeah.
So, don't like the word essential. But Haaland in this is as close as it gets. Yep. Like, to clarify, I've obviously said in FPL, I'm very much strongly considering selling Haaland. There'd be no consideration of doing that in this format. None.
Gazman FPL. Enzo Fernandez, obviously. Estupinian and Watkins to Maddison, Saliba and Awoniyi would have to do it Saturday because of funds. So you're selling Estupinian on the day he plays, Watkins on the day he plays.
No, forget this. And sell who else? Who?
Enzo Fernandez before he plays.
To get who?
Maddison, Saliba and Awoniyi. You're selling 3 players before they play, and on the same day only one plays, which is Maddison. So if you then had the situation where Saliba didn't turn up for whatever reason, Awoniyi didn't turn up,
absolutely cropping my face.
Yeah. No.
Right,
Find another route.
Let's think about this logic. Who's the 3 players being sold?
Enzo Fernandez, Estupinian, Ollie Watkins. All play on the Saturday.
Right. So look, if you could move Estupinian or Watkins to Maddison on the day, then cool. I'm going to guess financially that probably can't be done. In any case, if you're sitting there with Ollie Watkins, I would be strongly considering just leaving that at the moment, because I think he'll be very popular in a few weeks' time, actually. Even if he doesn't get returns, I think he's going to be popular. Estupinian is cuttable, but I would just look at that. He wants to get, Saliba and...
Maddison and
Awoniyi. Yeah. So can you not just go, like, if it's that important to you, Watkins to Saliba on Sunday gives you 5 Arsenal fixtures over Villa's 3 before Villa play West Ham, and then go Estupiñán to Awoniyi on Monday. And sorry, you just haven't got James Maddison. It's life. Who was the other player you wanted to sell?
Enzo.
Yeah, and I mean, I'd be keeping that for the captaincy cover at the moment.
You mentioned Watkins there. Michael Harlan wants to know if Watkins to Sterling on Sunday to cover Chelsea, Raheem Sterling obviously to cover Chelsea Fulham, even though it's a bit of a way away.
No, if you're looking for coverage for the Chelsea single game day against Fulham, wait till the single game day against Fulham. There's no reason to
no fixture gain in advance of it.
There's no reason to do that now. So you can say, Watkins playing Chelsea at Brighton. Okay, right, Sterling's playing Bournemouth and Villa. Like, is it that different? No, you wait for the Monday.
Okay. Mitch Emery's a new player to Sky, and he says that we've mentioned in previous Sky podcasts that about Colwill, Awoniyi and replacing Dunk. Who is the best Dunk replacement? I think that's a very much needs must kind of question, isn't it, really? Because are you replacing him to give yourself a captaincy coverage for any particular day? That will obviously be the first factor in decision making, wouldn't it?
Well, I think that the answers here really are Forest or Burnley players. Subject to what you're doing. And then remember, it doesn't have to be back in from the same player. So, for example, you could go Dunk to Beyer. That's obviously nearly a couple of million difference. You run through with Beyer, and then that extra money works you to get Son or Maddison on October the 23rd when Tottenham play Fulham. And then you sell whichever one of that back to Dunk when he comes into that Fulham fixture the Sunday afterwards. So you don't have to. It doesn't have to be a straight swap of 3 for 1s, if you will, although it's more like a 9 for 4, I think, roughly, say, with Beyer. Awoniyi, you could tag that similar way. So you the only thing with that is getting back to Dunk from Forest doesn't really work. But again, similarly, there's probably enough difference in price that you'd move in something else back to Lewis Dunk on October 29th. You do not want to be without Lewis Dunk for that period from Fulham on October 29th if he's fit. And therefore, for me, with a couple of other issues, I think he just stays at the moment.
Cool. We have MB saying Richarlison to Awoniyi.
Yes.
And?
Yes. Just yes.
Colwill / Chilwell to Beyer. Which Chelsea defender? And what would you chain Beyer on after the 2 single game days?
It's the same thing. Richarlison to Awoniyi is an absolute yes, get it done. But then same thing, if you want to go Chelsea to Burnley, wait till after Chelsea have played Fulham. Mm-hmm. You give yourself an additional cover for captaincy for the Fulham game, and then you've got the team for probably the most important one from that perspective is the captaincy then versus Luton.
Cool.
And you've got a little bit more information of games. So, yeah, if you're doing it that way, don't make both changes now. Hold the Chelsea one to Burnley till October the 3rd.
Cool. A couple other questions coming in around Burnley, but we have covered them off in terms of where to go to. But
I think attacking players, by the way, just
avoid.
Yeah, I know Foster's cheap. I can't make a case for it.
So 80 Tour says, would you do Nakamba to Foster on Monday? Now there are 2 captain days for Burnley. Nope.
No, I'm going to assume you can't go Nakamba to Awoniyi, but it's probably someone else in your team. You can go something else to Awoniyi. If you're sitting there with Brentford and Luton already, there's a case to say just skip Monday night. That's kind of the one where it becomes, right, well, I'm definitely not gaining 2 captaincies here. I'm sitting there with Mbeumo and Nakamba. That covers the games with the 2 teams in early October. Can I just skip the Forest-Burnley game? Yes, possibly. But personally, if I was in that situation, I'd still be going in on something.
Cool. And I need to check this question on the planner, but Alex Gammon says, is coming off a Forest player for a Luton player on Saturday the 23rd a good idea, or just wait to get Luton on the single match day? So Luton have Wolves on that day, but Forest play Man City. So it's the same day transfer. Obviously, Luton's fixture's way better.
What about Forest against Brentford on October the 1st?
Yeah. But again, I think with something like captaincy from a Luton.
What that is probably just don't want to look at Awoniyi against Manchester City. Right, well, forget that, because if Awoniyi gets a 1 point against Man City, it's irrelevant. If he gets you 40 points across the Burnley and Brentford games, you ain't going to give a shit what he gets against Manchester City. So again, if you're going Forest to Luton players after Forest play Brentford, go in on the night when Luton play Burnley.
Chris has the last question of the show, James. he doesn't remember you saying, "Oh, sugar," in previous seasons. Is it a conscious effort to substitute for a curse? It makes him laugh every time.
He's asked this a few times.
Oh, has he?
I've not noticed me say it. Have you noticed me say "oh, sugar" a lot?
No, but I don't listen to you, mate.
Nico's nodding, yeah. Let me absolutely look down the camera and say I've got no qualms with saying "oh shit." So like absolutely none at all. So sugar is. I got no problem saying shit. I couldn't care less. There's a few other words I might try lose a little less, but shit, I'm not bothered about.
Do you know what we need? Anybody that's listening to the pod for this long and has got to this point in the pod is a dedicated fan of the show, I would like to think. So, the sound recording desk that we have, James?
You're going to ask me to press a button?
Has those coloured buttons on the right there. There's 8 of them.
That's way too far.
No, I'm not asking you to press them. Because you know what they do?
They make stupid sounds.
Sound effects.
Yeah.
We can introduce sound effects into the sound recording device that when you were to say something like, "I'm going to buy Harry Wilson," I could press a sound effect that would be something along the lines of wah, wah, wah. Listeners, send us in what sound effects would you like to put into the sound recording board that I could use in the middle of the pod and just press.
Someone's going to go get James.
Essential.
James saying, "Oh, sugar."
Oh, sugar.
Nailed.
I want some sound effects. We need sound effects, Nico. We need sound effects. Yes, or catchphrases or whatever. Could I just record the intro and just put it into the sound effect? Efficiency, it's what we need. We need to use the sound effects, and "oh, sugar" could be one of them. But yeah, a bleep machine would work as well. And that's a wrap, James. That's Sky Fantasy Football for another week.
Cheers.
Steaming ahead. Listeners, thank you for tuning in. If you want to become a supporter of the show, you can head over to patreon.com/planetfpl. The reason that James and I can speak so freely on fixtures is because we got your planner up in front of us that shows the gaps and between fixtures and dates and so on. You get access to that. You get access to some mini leagues. You get additional content, and you get to meet 700 new friends who also enjoy fantasy football. Quite a lot of whom play Sky as well and do really well at it. So
some of them are very good.
Worth coming and joining the party. It's patreon.com/planetfpl.
Some of them are shit at it.
Indeed. But that would be really nice to have you over there as part of the community. Other than that, wherever you listen to the pod, subscribe, hit subscribe, leave us a review, and tell your mates. That's what we need.
Tell your mates.
Stay safe. Ciao for now.
Thanks, everyone. Be nice to each other and play it your way. Cue music, please, man-child. Ancora Messi, give it to me.